Good morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections at My Kids 1031. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host for this morning. And you know what? I have my favorite group on because I enjoy interviewing young people. I really do. Older people, that's okay. That's right. But I really enjoy interviewing our young people because you are our future. Most people will say that, you're all this, but you're our future. You're our today. And if we don't help cultivate you correctly, we'll pay for it when we get older because you all will become in charge of us as far as holding offices and doing whatever you're doing. You all become in charge. And if we don't help cultivate you, I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm glad that you're here today. Yes, I am going to do some, stepping on people's toes first. So I'm going to go first back to the issue that we've been talking about a whole lot. And it's the issue of natural hair. A lot of our young men and women have been paying the price in schools due to the fact that they choose to wear their own cultural hair. African Americans, our hair isn't, straight down, no. Our hair comes in different types, different everything. But most of all, our hair expression is who we are, and it doesn't affect our thinking skills, as a lot of people think. People will assume that if you have locks, your hair is natural, you're wearing an afro, you're wearing braids, twists, that is a mind that, it's affecting your intelligence, when in actuality, it isn't. Me, myself, along with doing the radio show, most everybody knows, for the NAACP, I'm the state education chair. So the whole state of Texas is mine, and I get to learn a lot. But I've been getting some really strange phone calls from youth, and I'm lucky they're calling me, but, telling me about the issues they're having with their hair at school. We all know about the one young man with the locks. We all know about him. And it's a shame to say that we're putting young people in a position of my hair or school. That is like the dumbest thing in the world, I think, because, the kids shouldn't have to make that decision. And in fact, nobody should make that decision. But my confusing thing is about this, and we'll talk about it at another time, is the fact that I grew up through the 60s. And one of my guests, Mr. Lewis, grew up in those time frames.
Earlier.
We'll just say the 60s. Cause
all right.
The reason why I'm saying the 60s, because we could wear our hair however we wanted to. For some strange reason, we wore our hair however we felt like it, and nobody said anything, which is confusing because that's when they should have said something. But we wore all kind of hair, I swear we wore. We even had the picks in the back of your head, and you wore to school that way. Nobody said nothing in that time. So that time should have been the time something was said. And the reason why I'm saying that time, because that was the time of walkouts, protests, all kind of things going on. So they didn't say nothing then. I'm trying to figure out why they said something now. I can't get it. But anyway, we're going to move on. But once again, I'm going to say that Alpha Phi Alpha is the only fraternity, that comes on the show.
Well, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much.
And I like it because I get to find out that you all are active in the community. Not to say the other ones aren't, but I'm just saying that Alpha Phi Alpha is the ones who take the time to come out to say, hey, we're doing something for the young people.
We like to think we are. In fact, as a member of the local chapter, in fact, I'm the eldest of the local chapter.
Ooh, okay.
Here in Central Texas. As part of Alpha Phi Alpha, the first black intercollegiate Greek letter organization. We were founded in December 4, 1906 at the college in Ithaca, Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. And what we're here today, we have three young gentlemen that the young lady just finished talking about, very young, who participated in one of our national programs, which is the oratorical contest. Basically, this is in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, a fellow Alpha Phi Alpha. And these gentlemen spoke in the contest, and we have the first, second, and third winner here with us today. This is part of 5 programs that we have nationally in all of the chapters, some 730 active chapters here in the United States and abroad. The others are voter education. A voteless people is a hopeless people, much as what we just got through hearing about. People want to control without ever casting a ballot. So without a vote, you have no say. Education, go to school, go to high school, go to college is our third program. Brothers Keeper is the fourth. And the last is Project Alpha. And that program stimulates basically what you were talking about. Started some time ago, basically started because of the severe problem of teenage pregnancies. And all throughout the United States, everyone talked to young ladies, but no one was addressing the male. We decided to do that, and we started in the Chicago area, and I feel very honored. I had the first program to get west of the Mississippi. It was in Southern California, the same program of Project Alpha. Basically, it takes men from 12 to 15, 18 years of age, starting at 12, with parental permission, to be told the responsibility of careless sexual relationship. And the process that most men think, well, if a young lady gets pregnant, that's her problem. And basically, they quickly find out you're responsible for that child until that child is grown. And most of us, even some grown men, do not realize the cost of pregnancy, the cost of maintaining the mother, the cost of maintaining the baby. So that's a program, as well as sexual transmitted diseases. All of these programs that we as a chapter try to present to young people to be responsible and lead responsible lives. That's one program. But today we want to talk, we have these three young men here for having won the recent oratorical contest.
And I like that. So good morning. How y'all doing?
Good.
So what I want you to do is introduce yourselves. And I want to know why you even decided to be a part of it. You know, what made you be, you could have been doing any other thing else, but you chose to be a part of the oratorical. So I'll start with you.
Well, hello, my name is Jamal Coleman, and I've been doing the Alpha Phi Alpha oratorical contest since my freshman year. 2 years ago. So, in the beginning, I didn't want to do it, but you know how parents are. So my mother, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So She kept on pushing me that freshman year. And ever since that first experience, I'm like, wow, I really like doing this. So I just came back every single year, and win or lose, I just like doing and getting across a word that needs to be heard.
I like that. Next man, young man. He like, uh-oh.
Nah, worry. My name's Artis Tyson. I'm 15. The reason that I did the competition is because not mainly for a monetary prize, but for considering the message that can be brought forth. It's conveying the message. Because black people, I know we have a lot of problems. We have a lot. And there's not a lot of people who are coming out there, especially youth, that will speak out on these type of subjects. And it's like coming from a youth, a 15-year-old, that's very significant. That's going to make an impact. And if I'm able to do so, I will use my efforts, I will use my voice to speak a message that needs to be heard.
Okay.
Sounds like a young artist.
There you go. It's like, come on.
Good morning. My name is Damian Levy Jr. I'm also currently 17. I've had a lot of experience with speaking. I'm currently the president of my school. I've given a couple of speeches here and there. And so I've never really heard of the Alpha Phi Alpha's oratorical contest before. But one of the administrators from my school, Mr. Rose, he had introduced me to it. He said, hey, I think this is something you should check out. And I gave it some thought. At first, I wasn't too sure in doing a speech competition. My nerves got to me. I didn't think I would be able to speak in front of that many people, and especially compete with other people. But with his, motivation, and that with my parents too, I decided to give it a try. And it's something I really don't regret doing. It raised my awareness to an issue I never really thought about. That youth, people my age, and even myself, I'm guilty of it, don't really participate or take charge of their future as much as they should. And then by doing this competition and researching, I gained more understanding of why we don't participate, what keeps us from doing so. And then in that effort, I'm actually looking to institute a project of voter education to get the youth within my community to participate in their future and take hold of it.
Good. Well, I'm going to say this. Whatever you need me to help you with, any of you, as far as the radio, let me know. Because, like I said, I enjoy interviewing our young people. Because, if we don't help you, teach you, then you'll be going some other direction. Because it's easy to go the other direction as well. And it's tougher staying in the one you are in now. So I'm all here for you. You can always say, hey, I need to come on your show and we need to talk about this. You know what I'll say? All right, be here. Be at the door. And we can come on and talk. Because it's my avenue and my way of helping you get your word out there. Because each of us as elders, our job is to, listen to me again, to serve you. Because the knowledge we have, if we can't help you with it, then we need to go away. That's my thought process. As an elder, if we don't give you what we have, then we need to go away somewhere because we're not doing you any good. Because the knowledge and whatever we went through, we owe it to you. So whatever you need, let me know. So who's going to give their speech? Yes, that's why you're here. Oh, I got a what? 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 Yes, come on now. We need to hear what you had to say. So who's ready? I know all y'all ready. Okay, so I know everybody ready.
Go ahead,
This is your time. Because everybody who didn't hear you then get to hear you now. Yes. So we need to hear it. Because like I said, I didn't hear it because I wasn't there. I was here. So I need to know what we need to hear these. And everybody else who didn't hear it then need to hear it right now.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's in your head. I know that.
I don't know, because I've been working on another speech. I'm supposed to be speaking on the juvenile justice system. And there's so many boys in there right now. And that's the speech I've been reviewing. So
okay.
Got to slip my mind. So
You know what? You got it?
I don't know.
But I know you
rehearse that.
Well, there you go. Okay, come on.
Free rehearsal.
Well, once again, my name is Damian Levy Jr., and I'm currently a senior at Early College High School. So, if there's one thing we Americans pride ourselves upon, it is having a government of the people, by the people, and ultimately for the people.
Yeah.
Every 4 years, on the first Tuesday following the first Monday in good old November, we see hundreds upon thousands of people rise up to exercise their most fundamental right in the U.S. democracy, the right to vote. Yet, as history would suggest, this right was not always available to every person. The U.S. was founded in 1776. It wasn't until 1870 that all men gained the right to vote, regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. For women, they'd have to wait another 50 years as the 19th Amendment finally gave them their due in 1920. And finally, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 struck down the literacy tests and discriminatory laws designed to keep blacks out of the polls. Yes, as history makes evident, the right to vote was obtained through decades of struggle. Yet for something that took so long to gain, you think people will utilize it a lot more than they do, especially those of the younger generation. In the 2016 presidential election, the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement found that of the expected 58%, only 50% of eligible millennials participated in the election. So how? How can we encourage the youth, and especially those of the up-and-coming Gen Z, to take hold of their future? But before we can answer that question, we must first understand why it is that the youth don't vote. A common question I tend to hear around the coming month of the election is, have you registered to vote? Yet, it seems that this question is asked so much that people often forget to ask something I feel is far more important. Do you know how to register to vote? One of the main things keeping our youth from the ballot isn't necessarily a lack of interest, but a lack of knowledge. Voting in itself is a process that can seem quite daunting to someone unfamiliar with it. First, you must register to vote, which has its own peculiarities and requirements, and not to mention that those can differ from state to state. What documents do I need? Where do I submit my application? How do I even receive an application? And these are the questions and the problems that arise when we expect the ill-informed youth to take hold of their future and vote. And a solution to this problem can be found by looking back upon Martin Luther King's efforts during the Civil Rights Movement. In 1958, Martin Luther King, under the command of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, launched what was known as the Crusade for Citizenship, a project that sought to register thousands of disenfranchised voters in time for the up-and-coming elections. And by 1964, saw nearly 800,000 new black voters. This project's success stemmed from one crucial thing: voter education. It is one thing to tell somebody to vote, but it is another thing entirely to tell that person how to vote. Not how, as in who or what to vote for, but what voting does, what their vote does. And whether it be through schools or even external programs, that knowledge is power. And when used correctly, there is nothing more powerful than that of a vote. However, this cannot fix the other problem within our political system. Let's face it, voting is one of the biggest inconveniences surrounding the election. And that inconvenience is keeping our youth from the ballot. On the first Tuesday, following the first Monday in good old November, we see people rise up to exercise their right to vote. Why not the first Wednesday after the first Tuesday, following the first Monday? Why not the first Saturday, following the first Friday? The U.S. Census Bureau found that in the 2014 midterms, 34% of the eligible who didn't participate in the election said that they were too busy to do so. We work on Tuesdays. We learn on Tuesdays. And we are expected to set aside our obligations and wait hours upon hours in line just to cast one ballot. So, instead of an election day, why not an election week? If we are given the time to exercise our right to vote, then we will exercise our right to vote. Yet, there is one more problem, and something I'm ashamed to say I was a victim of myself. Some people just aren't interested in politics. If you were to ask me at the start of my junior year what I could tell you about politics, I could tell you very little. Who are the two major political parties? Republicans and Democrats. What can you tell me about those two parties? Well, one has an elephant, one has a donkey. That was how little I cared. That is how little some people still care. So what changed my mind? The same thing that can be used to change the hearts and minds of young men and women across America. Involvement. On February 25th, 2019, I participated in a rally at Austin, Texas. A rally in which students, people my age or even younger than me, advocated for the changes they wish to see in our education system. And as cliche as it may sound, this was a life-changing experience for me. It utterly decimated the belief that I, and perhaps many other young people have, that because I'm so young, my voice does not matter. Martin Luther King said during the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and the Crusade for Citizenship that the chances for improvement rest on their ability to vote and stir the consciousness of our nation to change its current conditions. We are the next generation. The problems of today will be our problems tomorrow. And with our will, easier access, and knowledge, come that first Tuesday, following the first Monday, in good old November, when you wait in line, you will see us there. The young faces, the bright faces, and the willing faces. And we will take hold of our future.
Very good.
I like that. I like that. So I can look for a rally real soon in Killeen area?
We learned last night that based off of his speech, actually, he encouraged
Well,
So I can look for a rally of young people, rallying together themselves, not having us to rally you. You rally yourselves. Okay, good. All right, come on. Y'all didn't tell me who was third, second, and first. Okay, come on.
Well, good morning once again. I'm Jamal Coleman, 16 years old. I'm a junior at Harker Heights High School. 9 months. That is all the time that we have until one of the most life-shifting elections in our nation's history takes place. Now, although that may seem like a lot of time, we know that it is not a lot of time to prepare to exercise one of the most cherished rights in America, the right to vote. See, I was asked the question, what impactful strategies should be executed to encourage millennial and Generation Z citizens to engage in the electoral process, and how would Dr. King address it? First, we have to think election. When some people hear election, they think just a presidential election. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not the only election that's important. We need to encourage citizens of all ages to also go out and vote in their midterm elections. Now, midterm elections are used to vote for our elected officials and state representatives such as Brad Buckley, John Kraft, Hosea Segarra, John Driver, Councilman Gregory Johnson, people like that. Yesterday, I was attending an NAACP meeting, and our mayor said that only 3,000 people in Killeen came out to vote for midterms. And those are the people who are in Congress. So it's our part that we need to take. Now, a method we can explore is using word of mouth. Now, I know you're probably wondering, why word of mouth? Word of mouth with the help of social media works because all it took was for one person to tell another and another about how good the Popeyes chicken sandwich was, right? So in result, everyone just had to try it. Some even stood in lines for hours just to try it. If people could stand in line to satisfy the needs of their taste buds, then why can't they stand in line to satisfy the needs of this country? This has to change. If Dr. King were here today, I believe he would motivate our young people to vote by telling them the hard-fought battles and sacrifices of those before us to obtain the right to vote. To fully realize Dr. King's vision for America, we need to develop new ways to come together so that his dream does not die. Right at our fingertips, we have access to multiple social media platforms, and we must use them to our advantage. In the past, Dr. King wrote letters, marched, and gave motivational speeches to help change the culture for voting. If Dr. King were here today, I believe that he would use social media to reach citizens of all ages to encourage them to exercise their right to vote. Now, while doing research on this topic, I came in contact with someone that I know who is not eligible to vote in the upcoming election, and I asked him if he was going to vote. He said, well, I'm not really into politics, and I don't know the candidates anyways, so I don't think I'm going to vote. I told him he should still vote. He said, well, why should I vote? I told him, elections have consequences, and some people may say that we have been living through one of the most detrimental consequences for the past few years. You should vote because of poor schools and lack of education. You should vote because of communities that still suffer from high poverty. You should vote because the violence and senseless shootings has to stop. Dr. King was a drum major for justice and was trying to emphasize in his life's work that the work is never, ever done. Our country and democracy is stronger when we all vote, and we can encourage our young citizens by painting a picture for them. Think of an individual vote as a small drop of water. One drop may only make a small ripple in the vastness of the ocean. The more drops, the greater the effect. When there are millions of drops of water, the ripple becomes a tidal wave. A handful of votes may not mean much, but with many votes and unified voices, we can make a powerful impact. When we go to the polls, we shouldn't just post a picture of us on social media with the I voted sticker on. We should ask our family and friends if they voted yet, and if not, why not? When we do not vote, we are telling everyone that we do not care what decisions our elected officials make and how they affect our lives. Other impactful strategies we can use is to call and text potential voters and remind them the impact of their vote. We can also help our college students set up community events such as having a Voting is Lit community block party. Now, yesterday at this NAACP meeting, we also learned that the NAACP is having their first Voting is Lit community block party for a registration drive at Dodge Country on March 7th. So anyone can come out to that to get registered to drive. Young people love food, fun, and music, so that would be an event that could host the registration drive. We can even go old school and knock on doors to explain the importance of every single vote. Every phone call, every text message, and every knock on the door can contribute to historic voter turnout across the country. I believe that if Dr. King were here today, he would reiterate what he said in his Facing the Challenges of a New Age speech at a rally in Atlanta, Georgia, when he said, "In this tense period of transition, in this period of social change, we need one of the greatest needs of the hour, and that is for leaders who are both calm and positive. Leaders who can somehow analyze the issue and press on with the vision, but with wise restraint. Leaders not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. Leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. Leaders who can subject their particular egos to the greatness of the cause. Leaders who have honor. Leaders who will not lie. In order to have these type of leaders, we need to exercise our right to vote. When we do not vote, we are not being heard because we are being silent. Dr. King once said that our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about things that matter. And guess what? Your life matters. Your voice matters. Your vote matters."
And it does. Thank you. Very good. I like that. I like that. So what are we going to do to get all the young people to vote? What are we going to do?
Well, as I mentioned during my speech yesterday while we were at this NAACP meeting, they actually took one of the ideas from my speech and they're hosting a registration drive now. So that's something that we are using to get them registered to vote.
Right.
But now we have to actually get them to vote in November. And I think, like I said, young people love food, fun, and music. And I don't know if there's a law or anything, but who says the polls can't be fun? We could have something at the polls to get them out to vote. Like, if someone were to send me a wedding card, two families were to send me a wedding card, and one card just had black and white, come to my wedding, and the other card was pizzazzled up and everything and had much of decorations and colors, I would be much more encouraged to go to that wedding instead of the other, because to me it just looks tastier, you know? So I think young people see with their eyes, of course.
Correct.
And we like to see things that look good. So I think we need to make things more attractive, kind of.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not picking on you, just ask you a question. So November is when we vote. For the largest part of our lives when we vote. But something's going to happen before then that counts even more than the voting. So I'll explain that. As you all know, or might not pay attention, this year is the census. The census is going to be taken, and everybody should take the census, because the census is a count of everybody in your house and everybody. But what it does after that is each state gets so much money from funding for the census. But after the census comes something called redistricting. And that's when they redraw the voting lines. Okay, so that's when groups of people will be voted out to this area over here. So let's say this candidate in the middle, he's safe and secure, right? But after the census is taken, he finds out there's some people that's going to be in his area that didn't vote for them. Mm-hmm. So he's determined to win, right? So what is he going to do? He's going to redraw that line and either cut those people out or leave them in. that will affect your voting, because let's say today you are going to vote for Mark Johnson, okay, for United States Senate. Okay, let's say today you're going to vote for him. After the census is over, you're not in his area anymore. You see what I mean? You've been carved out. So after the census and before the November election, we have to do some map reading. We do. So what I've been telling people to do is contact your legislator and tell him to send you a district map.